Hola amigos de Puerto Rico Wine, estamos una vez más en Bottles en Guaynabo y me acompaña el presidente de una bodega muy importante en Napa Valley, muy querida aquí en Puerto Rico, con unos vinos de altísima calidad. Me refiero al señor Dan de Polo. Dan, good to see you.
Mucho gusto.
Pleasure. Dan es el presidente de Darioush, como les dije. Nosotros tuvimos ya a un invitado de la misma bodega, el señor Alan Papp, cuando fue el quinto pabellón internacional del Río de Suárez. Y él nos habló de dos vinos en ese momento. Hablamos del Capataz, que es el proyecto de Darioush que tiene en Argentina, y hablamos también, por supuesto, del Cabernet Sauvignon, que tal vez es un poco la uva insignia, la uva que Darioush tal vez ha puesto un poco más a ella. Hoy vamos a hablar de diferentes temas, vamos a hablar del Merlot, del Shiraz, vamos a hablar del proyecto Darius y, por supuesto, vamos a hablar de Puerto Rico como mercado. Quiero agradecer a Richard de Bottles, a Carlitos Montalvo. Les tengo que contar que yo ayer estuve con Dan, probé unos vinos espectaculares, probamos blancos, tintos y una gran variedad de terroirs diferentes. Así que ya les informaré con columnas a través del portal. Now we're going to switch into English. So Dan, what is Darioush? What can you tell our viewers out there about the name, about the winery?
Sure. So Darioush is actually a man.
Okay.
Darioush Khaledi is an immigrant from Iran. Mm-hmm. He came to America seeking freedom and opportunity in business, and he ended up being very, very successful entrepreneur. He is living the American dream. Yeah. Built a real estate and grocery store empire in California, and he's always been this huge collector of Bordeaux. Okay. And over the last 20 years, Napa Valley Cabernet. He has a passion for wine, a passion for collecting, much like many people in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing that you should know about him.
And you've worked with this winery for about 10 years, right?
I've been there a decade, which is really the first decade that we've been out with our wines. It takes a long time in the wine business to plant and develop your vines and let the quality and sort of the style and personality of a wine come out. We were founded in 1997, but really it wasn't until about the 2005 to 2007 vintage where the Darioush wines really started hitting their stride and really making an impressive impact upon wine collectors around the world.
Can you recall when was the first time you started importing to Puerto Rico? When did your wines first get here?
Yeah, when I started in 2004, Carlito and I met maybe in 2005, 2006. And I think the first vintage that we imported was the 2005 vintage.
Yeah, because I've seen, obviously, your labels are very particular, very elegant.
Very unique,
and
yes.
The colors, the Darius is just an amazing wine.
Yes,
thank you. I've seen these labels for 7-8 years in our market now. Getting into Puerto Rico as a wine destination. This is your third time on the island.
It's my third time to the island. I come about every 2 years.
Okay, great.
I wish I could come more often.
Yeah, it's always a nice time here. How would you describe Puerto Rico as a market for Darioush, an important winery in Napa?
Well, the one word that comes to mind is incredibly passionate.
Okay.
I mean, there are some very knowledgeable, very passionate wine collectors on the island, and not everybody knows Darioush yet, so I appreciate you introducing Darioush. But of the 50 or 100 people that collect my wine, because we really don't bring in that much wine, they're crazy about it. And they're crazy about Bordeaux and Barolo and collecting Spanish wines. There's just a lot of enthusiasm for great wine.
Let me ask you something. You guys have presence in how many countries carry your wines?
Well, we're still emerging. I have a very good business in Tokyo in Japan.
Okay.
Hong Kong is very new. I haven't gone to China yet because I just don't think that they would really understand Darioush and the quality of it.
Right.
So I'm waiting there. But in Europe, where there are very refined palates, the Europeans love our wines. Okay. You know, anybody who really likes Bordeaux but wants a little bit of Napa Valley, oomph and that quality and that sort of power and saturation of fruit. They love this.
I really want to get into that before we taste the wines, because we had a long conversation. I was fortunate enough to be sitting next to you yesterday, and you said that you guys are sort of like a bridge between the modern and the classic.
Very much so.
Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I think there's a really strong intention at Darioush to do things a little differently. Darioush is as a man, he's a very independent thinker. You know, He wasn't afraid to leave Iran and come and remake his life and his business in America. When he came to Napa Valley in 1997, he wasn't afraid to invest in areas that weren't necessarily famous for Cabernet Sauvignon previously. And he chose the southern Napa Valley, up on Mount Veeder and down just south of Stag's Leap. Okay. So we're just outside the Stag's Leap appellation. And our 110 acres, as well as some of our growing relationships, all of our wines are made in this cooler area.
Okay.
And we're using that coolness, that fog every morning.
Translating to elegance a bit, right?
Yes, because Napa can get great power and saturation. I mean, our wines have this wonderful, satisfying quality that all Napa Cabernets have. But they also have this detail and this polish and this style to them.
They're chiseled wines.
Yeah, they're very well chiseled. And for people who like to pay attention to the details, they really reward that type of collector.
And perhaps Mr. Darioush, of course, is looking for a style that reminds him of those great Bordeaux wines.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if he's going to make wines for himself, his consumers, he's going to have wines that he personally would like to drink, right?
Yes.
And let's get into the first wine. We have a Merlot. We tasted this yesterday. Cheers, and
cheers,
thank you for sitting down with us. What do you get here? What do you get in this nose?
Well, here again, it's if you think you know Merlot, try Darioush Merlot because it's going to surprise you. This has both power and finesse. Most people think about Merlot being fruity and round and sort of easy drinking. This is a little bit more cab-like in its stance. It's very forward. It's a result of it being from Mount Veeder.
It's very aromatic. I love the aromatics.
Great aromatics, but there's also this there's a graciousness to it. It's a very kind, sort of a polished wine. And I think Merlot has a lot to offer.
I get this warm fruit, but it's not overbearing. It's not this whack of fruit. I think it's very pretty.
Thank you.
Obviously has this mineral component. You can see the elegance there, little cassis, little chocolate, like chocolate shavings, that fine dark chocolate.
Yes.
Let's give it a whirl to see what you get in the mouth.
I get grapefruit. I get it is darker fruits, but there's a really nice bright freshness there. There's a little bit of a savory element that keeps your mouth watering. This could use a little bit of decantation and sort of opening it up.
And it feels a little creamy.
For sure.
It's very silky.
Yeah, I call it polish.
Yeah, it's very nice. In terms of pairings, what would you pair this with? This Merlot?
I think you can pair this to anything that you're going to pair with Cabernet. Okay. It's both powerful and elegant. And I'm not much for pairings because I think if you have a great meal and a great wine, they're going to go together. Yeah. But meats and chicken, anything roasted. When I say savory, that's a sort of an herbaceous quality. Yeah. Positive. It's like having a roast
herbaceous
chicken.
Not necessarily is bad. A lot of people think that herbaceous is bad. To me, the great wines of Pomerol in the right bank of Bordeaux, and this is a little reminiscent of that, are very elegant and are wines that are meant to be aged. How long would you age this for? This is what year, what vintage?
That's a 2011. That's the current vintage.
Okay.
That's got, it's satisfying now with a little decantation. I think the next 5 years, fantastic.
All right.
For what most people like. Most collectors, especially in Puerto Rico, they like that young fruit.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a perception that, I need to age my wines a long time, and Darioush is made in a style that can. But you have to know when you like to drink your wine.
Let's get into a wine that blew me away yesterday. I'm going to put the Merlot on the side. The Merlot is delicious. It's fantastic.
It is.
But obviously, you have a lot of people making Merlot in Napa. The Shiraz for me, and we're going to get into this Shiraz, is just one of the best Shiraz I've had in California. Including the Rhone Rangers, including all of those guys. This, to me, is just fantastic. What can you tell us about this one?
So here again, Darioush is thinking differently a little bit. I think that a lot of California Syrah is planted in perhaps too ripe of an area, and the fruit can be a little bit blown out. I mean, they're substantial and delicious.
Sometimes it can be cooked,
they can be cooked.
Literally like a port.
But that's true anywhere.
Yeah.
That's sort of my feeling of a lot of Australian Shiraz.
Yeah.
It's just too much for me, for my palate. I want a little bit more sophistication and a little bit more elegance.
More romance, less porn.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we're a very casual show. I don't feel intimidated by it.
No, I love it.
It's
so fun to talk about wine because there's so many good analogies you can use.
Yeah, this is romance. This is a beautiful wine.
For Shiraz is all about soul. It's about spirit. It's about tango or salsa dancing. There's some energy and
it's
sort of
Gotham City wine.
Yeah,
Bruce Wayne would drink Pinot, but Batman would drink Shiraz.
For sure.
Yeah, you think
for
so?
sure. I think so.
I love the notes of pepper here, a little menthol freshness. You can tell this is very very high-end fruit, very good quality of the fruit here. And it's just dark and beautiful, full of spices.
It is a wild child. There is a lot of great dark fruit, but I get all those great spices that you get in a good Côte Rôtie. There's just more fruit and more generosity than
this
a Côte
to
Rôtie.
me is a Frenchman from Hermitage that comes to America and meets a beautiful American woman. And they go to the woods, they have a child. Probably this would come out. What do you think?
Okay,
it's a good analogy.
I'm trying to think of that one. Yeah, that's good.
It's old world, classic style, elegance,
interbreeding,
finesse, connects with a voluptuous, bombastic climate, I guess.
For sure.
Weather, and this is delicious. In terms of pairing, what would you pair this with?
Well, we were talking about it last night. I had dinner at 1919 two nights ago, and I had the roast suckling pig, which in Spanish they call cochinillo. Fantastic,
really,
because it was crispy and savory and a little bit oily and fat, and this wine cut through it. There's a nice acidity here, but there's such good fruit.
Yeah,
it really paired well with the saltiness.
There are some herbs here. I love the herbs here, and obviously you get a little bit of violets, a little floral thing right there on the side, which for me is the elegant part. Obviously, there's the ripe fruit, the giant muscular Shiraz.
And if you want to geek out a little bit, I get a little bit of like an orange peel. I get a little bit of clove and pepper. I mean, that's a spicy, sort of soulful element.
The pepper is present. It's right there. It's amazing.
I mean, this is, again, it's a very spirited and soulful wine. And this is going to age great. The 2005 Darioush Shiraz is phenomenal right now.
It's delicious. It's delicious. I'm going to get one of these bottles and have it signed by you.
My pleasure.
Before we close, we're not going to open this baby. I had it yesterday. Talk to us about the piece de resistance, or the big kahuna, or the big mama, the Darius II.
Exactly. So we have, Darioush is a Cabernet specialist. We're southern Napa Valley, where our wines are using cool climate to be really a bridge between Napa Valley and Bordeaux in terms of stylistics. We're not making Bordeaux, we're making Napa. So we have two Cabernets. This is the Cabernet that most people will see in the greatest restaurants throughout Puerto Rico. Many of the collectors have this. You can buy it in bottles. You can, find it in restaurants.
We had a show with Alan, and we tasted that. It was amazing.
That is an impeccable wine. What we always like to do is we want to do something that really highlights what's unique and what's different and what's exceptional of every vintage. So we will, as we're barrel tasting all of our different lots from 5 or 6 different vineyards, we'll pick out a highlight of the vintage, and we'll make that wine Darius II.
Okay.
This wine.
Why the name? Who was Darius?
So the gentleman that I work for, his name is Darioush.
Okay.
And that is the pronunciation, and it's slightly spelled differently than King Darius.
Okay.
And King Darius was a
Persian king?
Persian king 3,000 years ago, actually 2,500 years ago. He really expanded and unified the Persian Empire from India up into...
Beautiful. So it's like an homage to
very
the
much
roots,
an
to his
homage.
roots.
Yeah, there's such a great history,
it's very
both
rich in
architecturally or creatively. They have great textiles, great Persian carpets.
Well, you can say civilization was born around that area.
For sure. I mean, winemaking had a lot of roots in Persia. There was great tradition of building empires and bureaucracy and currencies, coinage. I could go on for a long time. So what's interesting about the wine, though, is that the wine changes every year.
Okay.
So this is a wine for collectors. You want to collect each vintage to really see what the story is of each vintage.
Okay. When you say changes, you mean the composition, the varietals?
The composition, the
Okay.
varietals. It might come from a mountain one year. It might come from the valley floor one year.
Okay.
It might be Cabernet Franc one year, or mostly, or it might have a lot of Merlot because the Merlot was exceptional.
And I guess that you guys do that in order to narrate the story of the vintage,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes. Such an important story. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a farmer. I work with Mother Nature, and I have to work with her and go with her. It's like
Right.
dancing, you know? You
Yeah.
have to work with your
Love
partner.
that, yeah.
And so Darius has this wonderful collection.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
We'll edit that. Don't worry.
Darius has this wonderful collection. It's a story that's being told chapter after chapter, and that's what makes it interesting.
Okay.
At the same time, the label every year will change and be a little bit of an interesting insight into the art, architecture,
Okay.
and cultural history of Persia.
And this is made in very limited quantities, right?
Very, very limited. Either 300 to 600 cases, depending on
And
what we have to
if
offer.
I'm not mistaken, you said yesterday that only 60, 50 bottles come to Puerto Rico every year of this wine.
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, there's probably 10 six-packs.
And you're obviously humble here and not mentioning the fact that these wines get incredible ratings, my friends.
For sure.
And obviously the Darius is on the 250 to 75 a bottle.
That's
but,
true.
But your other wines are under $1, are under 100.
Yes,
most of them.
yes. I think
retail.
I think at $90, $95 for the Cabernet, it's very reasonable for the quality that you're getting.
Exactly. I was going to say that. You have a lot of Napa wines nowadays that are in the 200, 250, 300.
Yep.
And your wines have remained in the very competitive price point. And for the quality, for the story, and for the fact that you can cellar them, it's just a fantastic bargain.
I agree with that. I think that well, you know, I know Darioush very, very well. I've been working with him for 10 years.
Yeah.
He has incredibly high standards to make a difference, and that's important. And he also needs an incredible amount of capital in the wine business.
Yeah.
But he also has this sort of profound sense of value because he was a grocer.
Yeah.
You know, and so he respects the fact that, you know, we have to figure out how to run an organization that can be profitable, and
Yeah.
we're running a business. But $95 is a great price.
It is
for a
for
great
that
bottle of wine,
Cabernet.
and we can make wines that are competitive with the rest of the world and do that. So.
Let me before we go. I haven't been to Napa yet. I'm planning. I've been to other parts of the world, like farther away than Napa. I've been to Italy, to Spain, to Argentina, and obviously I would love to visit you guys and shoot some videos there. Please tell us a bit, maybe 1 minute, about the architecture, about the property, because I've seen these pictures, I've seen videos, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's over the top. It is a fantastic place. Many people from Puerto Rico has come and visited Darioush, and so I encourage everyone to take a trip to Napa, enjoy San Francisco, come visit Darioush. It is a testament to Darioush's history, much like a French chateau and the architecture of French chateaus, or an Italian villa, or a Napa Valley farmhouse. Darioush is simply another weave of the fabric of Napa Valley, and this is Persian architecture at its best. You know, there's great historical and very authentic details built into the architecture. It's very grand, but inside it's very modern.
And it's reflective of America, the melting pot that is America.
Oh, sure.
Because obviously you have that Middle Eastern tradition, but obviously it's built within, you know, the liberties of America and the possibilities of America. So we're gonna obviously share some visuals with our friends right after this interview. I really want to thank you again for the chance. I had a fantastic lunch with you yesterday. I hope you get to come to Puerto Rico many more times.
I look forward to it every year.
I can't wait to see what you guys will come up with next, because I know that your story is just starting out and you'll be around for many more years. So thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Well, thanks for introducing it. Enjoy the wines.
Gracias, amigos. Vamos a seguir trayéndole videos, contenidos. Gracias nuevamente a todos ustedes los que nos dan su apoyo día tras día a este proyecto que es para consumidores. Salud.
Salud.